Bickley and Marotta Mornings. Arizona Sports. The local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
In sports, some things are inexplicable, like how did Chris Paul suddenly lose his superpowers the day he turned 37 when the Suns held a 2-zip lead on the Mavericks? And how did the Diamondbacks regain theirs when the calendar suddenly flipped to June? Seriously, have you ever seen the tone of a baseball season change so dramatically? A week ago, the Diamondbacks were snake-bit and drowning, and it was fair to wonder if Torey Lavello was going to lose his job. Today, they've got a 4-game winning streak, and their past 2 victories have been exhilarating. There was Justin Martinez tap dancing through a landmine on Wednesday, and there was a mind-blowing 7-run comeback in the 9th inning yesterday. Special teams always have these kind of games when Stardust and magic fills and fuels their clubhouse and their confidence, and now they've done to an opponent what has so often been done to them. So, my new challenge to the Diamondbacks: seize the moment. Don't let up. This team has shown the tendency to be unfocused and tepid. They've been their own worst enemy and a threat to their manager's job. Now they need to sustain the fire that has too often been a flicker, the fire they need to be special. All right, today's Bickley Blast brought to you by my great friends at Chapman BMW, who make luxury attainable. Find them online at chapmanbmw.com.
3-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. Listen. Fans are on their feet here at Chase Field. The first sound recorded, the 12th batter of the ball game.
I'm just loving the cheering right now.
Greg Schulte, Tom Candiotti. That was 6 days ago.
Yeah, that's quite a reversal.
6 days ago, it was about as bad as it could get. They showed signs of life on that Saturday night. They had a controversial send at third base that kind of killed a rally, but they lose that game. Jared Carlin eats a 2-foot sandwich.
And everything is right in the world.
And they haven't lost since.
And they haven't lost since. And you talk about the stakes and the implications of all this. I mentioned a couple segments ago the idea of reward when you're a sports fan. And we as baseball fans, we've been deeply invested in this team, and we've gone through these series of sucker punch losses that have truly tested your faith. This year, attendance at Chase Field is up 7.6% over this time last year. That's a big number, which means people want this team to succeed. People are watching this team. People are going to see them play. And you stack a couple of games like this where you give that investment, and instead of getting kicked in the cradle, to quote Wolf, you get these rich emotional rewards. Can change everything. Can change everything for the fan experience, for the trust in the baseball team. Now they have got to stay on this elevation. You know, this team has struggled with prosperity.
It's true. The attendance figure is interesting. That it is an increase that's that pronounced. 7.6%. You said
they're averaging over 30,000 per game.
Which, coming off the disappointment of the end of last season, you wouldn't expect that. When you look at this historically, attendance is always a figure of, hey, how did the team do last year? Or in the expansion year, it was just the newness of all of it. I think some of that has to do with the fact, I think they've had some breaks schedule-wise and teams that are coming in. It's a 4-game series against the Cubs. That is always going to give you a little boost in attendance. But I think your point is pretty valid in that there's so much hope for this team. And even with the disappointment of last year, they go out and they spend money. They're aggressive in building a championship contending roster. And I think, we were waiting for it. And I was kind of reserved to the fact, this is who the Diamondbacks are. They're not going to be able to sustain victories because they hadn't shown the ability to do it. The most remarkable part of this for all of this for me right now is it looks like it's following the pattern of last year where, yes, there were individuals that didn't get off to a good start last year, and it led to a lack of team success. And then there was a calendar flip, and players started playing better individually, and they started winning games. This doesn't make much sense. I mean, they got
no, it doesn't.
They got punched in the gut with the Corbin Burns news, and I give them credit. That could have been a woe is me moment for the entire team. Oh, now we lost. We're this bad, and we've lost
And
our
now
best
we've lost
pitcher.
our guy. Yeah.
What are we doing this for? And they have rallied. They have showed a different vigor, a different energy, and a different level of. And I'm not going to say it's been razor sharp or clean all the way either. They've been able to, in the last 4 games, overcome those mistakes that they've made.
Yeah, and again, I'm glad you played that soundbite because those Bronx cheers the Diamondbacks received last Saturday, falling down 9-0 to the Washington Nationals, was something I don't think I've ever heard before at Chase Field. Generally, when there's debacles in progress, that place just goes silent. Mm-hmm. Generally. I've not, but again, that first inning was so severe that it warranted it. And when it happened, I'm like, this is a new thing. And maybe it was, like you pointed out, the slap across the face.
Probably the audio of the actual rock bottom of the season.
Yeah.
That represented, the mocking cheers
Let's
at
hope.
that moment versus that team in that game. Probably the rock bottom.
Let's hope. And look, and for those who like Torey Lovello and really appreciate what he's all about, this might be a big-time reprieve for him because this season was trending not in his favor.
No, not at all.
Sleepy team that doesn't always respond.
And he was getting the brunt of a lot of the criticism because, a lot of it does fall on you. When you have and I've admitted this from day one. When you have an underachieving team, yes, people will look at the manager. It's not all his responsibility. But was he doing a good enough job to motivate the team? And look, motivation is it's kind of abstract for a lot of people. How much motivation do professional athletes need? But it does fall on the manager. And we've seen situations this year already. The Baltimore Orioles are turning things around. They fired their manager not long ago.
Yep.
They were one of the most disappointing teams in all of baseball. There's already been 3 managerial firings. Ken Kendrick's been very patient, obviously throughout the history of Torey Lovello being here. He withstood and survived 2 horrible baseball seasons, and he's still here. But that faith looks like it's being rewarded a little bit because this does look like a team that's got more energy and more belief in what they're doing.
Yeah, I think that they're just a little more attentive, and I think they've got sort of a little better sense of urgency to them. And what they did in the 9th inning yesterday, they can feed off that for quite some time. They can draw on that. They can use it to sort of bolster their swag a little bit because not every baseball team can pull off what the Diamondbacks did yesterday. And again, you throw in the 2-game when you link up games 2 and games 3 against the Braves. That's really rewarding stuff. That's really satisfying baseball.
Well, Sammy had mentioned it in the reboot. The Braves' winning streak was well over 600 straight games in situations like that where they had a 6-run lead in the 9th inning. They don't blow those. Teams don't blow those leads. The Diamondbacks had lost 419 in a row in their history. Right. That was historic what we saw yesterday, and got to keep it going. To have a setback right after a game like that would be disappointing. We'll see what happens. I don't know what to expect from Eduardo Rodriguez tonight. I really don't. It's a hitter's ballpark.
I hope it's good, man. I am really, really hoping that whatever rest he has just taken and for whatever reasons that it is going to change everything for him. We need him to be that guy that they thought they were acquiring.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Marotta. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.